And we're live with the Nut Club's opening podcast.
Welcome to the Nut Club, fellas.
So, should we, we'll go through and give everybody a little background on who we are. So, you know, put a name to the voice and whatnot. So, I'll let you kick this thing off, Jared.
Well, I am Jared Ragsdale. I am the CEO of NutriAuthority, the formulator of all the products, and the guy that sends the emails, you know. So anything that's happening, you know, I usually have my hand in it for the most part. So what about you, John?
I am John. I am the operations manager here at NutriAuthority, and I help ship out the products and develop the products and pretty much everything else in between. If there's something going in and out, I'm usually involved with it here at NutriAuthority.
That was beautiful.
Richard, let's hear from you.
Yeah. Look, name's Richard.
Richie,
Thomas is the middle name. VP
Richard
of Sales. I do two things. I make phone calls and I send emails. That's it. They could choose to not answer said calls or said emails. That's up to them.
All right.
Can't force them to do that.
There we go.
How long you been in the fitness industry for, Richie?
Oh, God. Longer than I look. 2010. I worked at a store in Harrison. Dude, you want to talk about we were moving product, boy.
Dude, Richard used to make my products back in the day. That's where Rishi and I came from. So whenever I was making products before he started working for us, he was in the manufacturing facility. So he was my rep there.
Long time.
It's actually insane. It really is my favorite thing about being with NutriAuthority is that. And also the specific flavor in which we were working together on was so different than anybody else had. And it was caramel apple. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
It had zero caramel in it. Tasted exactly like caramel apple.
Shh, don't give away our secrets.
Oh, yeah. Industry secret. First industry secret.
I remember tasting it and looking up and I was like, where's the caramel?
No.
How dare you?
Oh, it
tastes like it's there.
It tastes like the caramel apple suckers. That's the point. Yeah, the inside, not the outside.
Yeah.
Just the
We're
inside.
talking years of R&D went into that.
That's true.
So I'll introduce myself. My name is Broc. I do all the marketing and social media here and podcast production. So anything you see on our social media, any videos, photos, or this podcast, this is kind of what I do.
Whenever he doesn't message you back fast enough, this is the guy to blame.
Or whenever your packages are messed up.
That's true also.
Also, Broc would be the one to blame. That is correct.
Cool.
Just so we're clear.
That's all. You got a good gig, Broc. That's pretty cool.
He's got
the blame
it.
guy.
He's okay. He's, so far so good on the podcast, guys.
Everything just shuts down.
First 3 it just explodes.
Awesome.
Hey, good job on the podcast, bud.
Yeah, I mean, we're already pushing it on a bad podcast. We got Richie back there with the Bills flag.
In my head, I honestly, when we started this, I should have told all of anybody who ever decides to listen, hey, it's going to take him approximately 3 minutes to make fun of the Bills. Take your over/under bets now. We could have made a killing as a bookie on that.
Well, we got a Bills Chiefs bet coming up, right? We got
That's true.
You got the game. When's the Bills Chiefs game? You guys know?
I can get that for you right now.
I think it's close to Christmas, right? It's either I'm pretty sure it's November.
Okay. Yeah.
What is a friendly way?
Jamie, look that up.
What would you like to
December
risk,
10th.
Richard? You're the incumbent.
We can risk it all,
shape,
I'm pretty confident in my team to beat the Chiefs in the regular season. So
I'm not against the shaved head. I'm just pretty moly, so I don't know.
I'm thinking loser has to do an open mic night at a comedy club.
I do that I'm doing that now. I honestly, like anytime I'm talking, it's basically like a loser's night at a comedy club. I'll easily go do that. But shaving your head,
like an
and
Applebee's
ruining
karaoke.
this, that's a real risk. That's actually something to put up.
That's very true.
So what do we got? What's the date? What's the day of the Chiefs Bills game?
December 10th.
December 10th. All right. So what are we putting up? What's the terms of this bet? Hardcore Bills fans versus the hardcore Chiefs fans. I don't actually care. I'm not.
Week's worth of lunch. Shaved head.
Okay.
Are these either or?
Tickets to a game?
Seems like a lot.
Some suggestions here.
Those are all the things I'm willing to put up on it. I'll take another mortgage out in the house if you really want to get froggy. I just need you to accept one of these.
I'll bet you tickets to a playoffs game for when they meet again.
That's a good deal. I think playoff tickets is a good deal. Only two playoff tickets.
Yeah, 2.
And it's money line.
Are we going based off just winning versus losing? Is that all it is?
Yeah, money line. We ain't doing. Oh, the Chiefs are favorite 2.5 at home.
Well, it'll be the regular season, so you guys will win. We know it's the playoff game might be different, but the regular season one, you guys are probably going to win. So I'm fine with that bet.
I would have a comeback, but like the Bills team didn't have a comeback in the playoffs. So how could I have a play? How could I have a comeback?
You can edit the cricket sound in there if you want, Broc.
Yeah, I got it. I've got
hey, are we at home? Is that in Buffalo or is that in KC?
That's in KC.
Yeah, they'll both be in KC.
Hey, at least you're expecting to play us in the playoffs with that kind of statement, dude.
All I'm saying is maybe we do double or nothing, on the playoff game. But I think it's a fair bet. Playoff tickets.
If your wallet can handle it, man, I'll take all the tickets that you want to buy.
I mean, if Taylor Swift keeps going, I might be able to even get in the building.
Yeah, that's a good point, brother. Taylor Swift keeps doing this. I don't want this action.
I wish I was joking. I'm serious. Those tickets might be like $400 or $500 a pop.
That's true.
Oh, absolutely. I guarantee it, dude. His sales are up 400% since Swifty came to that game.
Yeah,
he was already a top selling tight end.
He was a top 5 jersey seller in the NFL now.
Actually, I'm really disappointed, guys. I'm going to say that. I'm really disappointed in people.
Why is that?
I was just disappointed. I don't know.
Is it anything that we can do to fix it? Is it a general populace problem?
Just general population. That would stimulate sales. Is the fact that he's dating somebody. It's terrible.
God, dude, ain't that nuts? Ain't that nuts that they made more? The Chiefs probably made more money off him dating Taylor Swift than his talent on the field. If he could have been dating Taylor for these last 7 years, they probably have a lot more money than what they've made off of him.
I want to know how much Arrowhead has made off of Taylor Swift in the past year based on her concerts and her attendance in football games.
It's hard to calculate, but I'm sure it's more than we think.
We'll get into our first topic today.
Ooh.
So what we have for our first topic is inflation.
Ooh, my favorite.
Everybody loves inflation.
Federal Reserve.
Yep. So the price of everything's going up, including things that we can't control, including groceries.
Yeah.
Right?
Grocery prices are crazy, man.
So, there's a couple things I'd like to get into. One, which is as somebody who's fitness minded, how do you eat healthy on a budget in this day and age in the United States, where we're not known for our, great practices in producing food? What tips would you guys have?
Well, I went to the grocery store. My wife's been doing the grocery shopping for a while, so I'm not privy to the prices most of the time. But the beef was $8 a pound, which is insane. Because whenever I was doing a bodybuilding show in 2008, I remember I went to this place called Satchel Creek Steaks. And they had this thing called Freezer Friday, where you got a better deal, but this is a local place, right? So they had really high quality beef. And so I went on Freezer Fridays and it was half price. So I got these things for $2 a pound. And at that point in time, I stocked up, man. I took like 100 pounds of them, took it home, stuffed it in the deep freeze, that kind of thing. That's how I did my first show. And I was 20 at the time. So we're talking, 15 years ago that this price was that. But to go up to $8 a pound, I wouldn't have been able to do that these days. So we actually decided to shop around, right? So we went to Costco. And that's previously wouldn't have been a big difference because $4 to $3 a pound is not a huge difference. But going from $8 to $4 a pound on beef, that's a huge, crazy difference, man. And so one of the first things I would do is you first have to assess your goals. Is it protein-based? Protein-based is going to be chicken. Chicken has to be one of the cheapest things that you can get. You got to shop bulk at Costco, cut it up, freeze it, do something like that. Rice is cheap. Oats are cheap. Almonds, pecans, things like that. Those are the cheap things to go. That's the bro bodybuilder diet. I'm not really into that much anymore. But if I was going as cheap as possible, it would be eggs, egg whites, chicken breast, oats, rice, almonds, pecans. That would be the staples of my diet. I don't know what I could get away for these days. At Costco, it's a little bit cheaper. I think it was like $3 a pound for chicken, something like that. That's pretty reasonable these days.
Yeah, but even Costco nowadays, you're buying so much bulk to try to get those savings, man. And I do prefer Costco for fitness shopping because they do have like a bunch of nuts and like egg whites and stuff they sell in bulk, and you can get a decent deal.
Oh, I get the mango.
You're still having to sacrifice so much in order to eat healthy now. You can't. The days of having like oil that's like garlic and like I don't get like special olive oils and stuff anymore to cook with and none of that. We're just frying chicken and putting it with white rice and calling it a day.
That's the biggest step. Yeah, chicken and rice, man. That's the bro bodybuilder diet. I'm not really, like I said, I'm not into that much anymore. But I think I could switch to that and I could eat that again if I really had to. Throw a little soy sauce on there. I used tamari sauce. That was my favorite. It was it's like a soy sauce on steroids.
I like sriracha.
What's up with that? That's how game.
Tamari sauce?
Yeah.
It's like 10 times the sodium of soy sauce. It's like super concentrated.
So you know it's good.
It's good. Oh, yeah, it's good. You can find us at the grocery store. So, I'm probably saying it wrong, but tamari is what I've always called it.
Isn't sodium bad for you? Like,
no way.
So that is that like a big misrepresentation in the
yeah. So people think sodium's bad for you because they think it increases blood pressure. That's kind of always been the way. They think sodium causes water retention. Water retention causes an increase in blood pressure. But sodium, if you're exercising, is probably one of the most important things that you can do. It's a very essential electrolyte. And when you're exercising, you're sweating the sodium out. And I'd say most people actually would notice a huge difference in their performance. They'd notice a change in their headaches and things like that by actually using more sodium. So I would say if you're exercising, if you're sweating, if you're trying to eat healthy, you're not getting a lot of sodium generally. And you actually need to salt your food, salt the shit out of your food. I mean, that's every time. So sodium is kind of gotten a bad rap, and it's just because people are out of shape. People are trying to watch their blood pressure and things like that.
Yeah,
but that's
so many diets have so much sodium now, right? So I'm sure the sodium intake's got to be higher.
Yeah, sodium intake's higher if you're eating fast food, but if you're eating chicken breast or you're eating, hamburgers that you made at home or something, the sodium levels are pretty reasonable.
I would imagine that's a pretty big difference between eating out versus buying just obviously organic, but even just stuff from the store. There's going to be way more salt in every sort of fast food you have.
Oh, for sure. One of the biggest tips you could do. So, bodybuilders always want a good pump when they're working out. And so one thing that you can do is go heavy on sodium, especially before a workout, because the increase in sodium does increase a little bit of the water retention, but it also increases contractile force. So you get a much better contraction of the muscle. You get a much better pump while you're working out because of the sodium. So anybody that's working out wants the pump or wants an increased, let's just put it this way. Anybody working out needs to use sodium and start salting their food. That's one of the reasons in the EAA factor I added Himalayan pink salt, so that you would actually get one of those electrolytes. There's others in there, but that's one of the electrolytes that I think is really important because it helps with that contractile force while you're working out. It helps with the pump while you're working out, and it makes the workout better.
Right, so this is the reason why Gatorade has such high sodium, right? I mean, isn't it a major portion of like endurance and replenishment and muscle hydration?
Oh, yeah. Sodium's essential. It's an essential electrolyte by far. People just
by itself, right? You don't need magnesium and potassium with it, right? You could just
you need all the electrolytes to be balanced, but generally speaking, you're going to be lower on sodium just due to sweating and things like that.
So, can you take some of these, bodybuilder diets that you talked about and adapt those to, let's say, somebody with a family, like they have kids to feed, or wanting to give the whole family something healthy to eat that's not sacrificing the general nutrients needed for developing bodies?
Yeah, well, I mean, first I would ask what the goal is for the person, right? Because a bodybuilder's a different goal than maybe somebody that just wants to be in shape, maybe somebody that wants to build muscle and lose fat. They don't have to go to the extremes. Bodybuilders are just known for the extremes. I mean, they're always, anything that you can do. If taking one pill is good, bodybuilders they'll take 10 pills. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what it is. They'll take 10 times the dose just thinking it's better. So if protein's good, they'll take 10 times the amount of protein of regular people. But I would say one of the most important things you could do is increase protein in your diet. Protein helps with muscle recovery. Protein helps with your metabolism. Protein helps with, brain function, all sorts of things. It breaks down into amino acids. Amino acids feed your entire body. So protein's always number one. And so I'd say first, you got to make sure that each meal is based around protein. So if you don't have protein in a meal, just consider it a waste. That's number one. Beyond that, I think it can be adapted. Like I said, if it's fat loss or muscle building or whatever it is, I think each meal can be adapted to a regular person that wants results with, eating relatively normally, relatively healthy for a family. So like we had beef stroganoff last night. My wife made it from, I don't want to say from scratch, but she put all the ingredients together, and it had noodles and it had beef and it had everything
That's
in there.
from scratch.
Yeah. Some Campbell's condensed cream of
Was there a
cream of
box
mushroom
in
in
the
there or
trash?
something.
Did
There's
she
a
work
box.
at the
Yeah, that's
Campbell's and
scratch.
produce that candy?
She didn't make the pasta from scratch.
Oh,
That's next level,
yeah,
right?
Hey,
But it
this
was
is a
good.
21st century, man.
It was
You
good.
lower your standards.
It was
not
good.
Italian.
But it combines. It does. It has a little bit heavier in carbs. Because of all the pasta that's in there. There's some extra fats that were in there from whatever the cream of mushroom soup or whatever was in there.
Yeah.
But the base of it was beef, and so the protein is in there. The carbs are in there, the fat are in there. So then it becomes, what are the ratios? And really, beyond anything else, it's going to be how much are you eating for the goal? If you need to lose weight, your number one thing is just to pay attention to your hunger. And if you're eating till you're full, well, you're going to be gaining weight. So if you eat and you stop before you're full, I mean, your hunger signals have to catch up. So, everybody can overeat because it tastes so good. And so to stop before that, that's the number one trick. And so anybody can do that.
What about
what? What'd you say, Richard?
Well, from the family side of it, I wanted to attack that from a different angle about just kind of the way my wife and us go about it, because we got 4 mouths to feed in the house.
For sure.
And we're not like on a diet. We're like on a wallet diet, right? We just want to make sure that everybody's getting fed in the house and that we got money.
Yeah.
So we stick to 3 meals through the 5 weekdays and then leftover days. And if we end up cooking a 4th day, we've just been eating good. And that's changed like the whole game for us, because you don't even have to like go out of your way to try to eat healthy. If you're planning out your meals properly, you're already eating way healthier than you're probably accustomed to. So that alone has changed so much.
Yeah. If you make protein a base of every meal, I mean, that's the most important part, right? So you make protein a base. So if it's spaghetti, it's a spaghetti with meat sauce, heavy on the meat. And
proteins from whole food sources are definitely going to be the best thing to do that for.
But, there's always a tip of trick. So it kind of depends on the person more than anything else. You give me your diet, I'll tell you how to change it. You tell me what you like to eat, I'll tell you how to modify it. If you're eating spaghetti with meat sauce, you don't have to have that many spaghetti noodles. You can just have a little bit of spaghetti noodles, more meat sauce with more meat in it. And that's not perfect by any means, but it's pretty good for the average person. It's not a bodybuilder. I would never have done that as a bodybuilder. And then you have different cuts of meat too, like ground beef. Are you doing 70-30? You doing 80-20? You doing 90-10? That kind of thing all factors into it, because the fat levels change the amount of calories that are in there. It changes how good it tastes too. So, something like 88-12, I think is what we got at Costco. That's pretty fair. It's a little fatty, but it's not 80-20. It's not 70-30. So 70-30, I mean, that's delicious, but it's not what you want.
Delicious, but not nutritious.
It's whenever you throw the patties on the grill and they shrink in half, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, and they're spilling out all that juiciness, dude. All that, boy.
70-30 smash.
That fat.
Best burger you'll have, though.
Yeah, in college we used to do that. We'd tailgate or whatever it was for KU when I was up there. And so we'd get the frozen patties in the freezer section, just break them down.
80-20s.
Are they 80-20s? Dude, but they shrunk so much down to like half of them.
All that water and all that's gone.
I didn't live in the dorms. No, my first year I was up there. I got an apartment. I was a hardcore bodybuilder, man. I couldn't live in the dorms and eat like that. So.
I was going to ask. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Is like there's a lot of these kids coming out of high school that really get into lifting, nutrition, and fitness, or they might be really into sports and want to in high school and want to maintain that activity level in the college, and they're on the dorm diet, right?
Yeah.
So they're on the college meal plan and whatnot. So what are some things and tips and tricks or meals that they can grab there in their food halls at college to?
I never ate at the food halls. So I went there once, I think, with my friends, but I never ate there. So I'm not even familiar with what they have. They had a lot of options.
They've got
they have everything, bro.
Yeah.
Which is results in you eating like cheeseburgers and pizza and cereal.
Yeah, that's the problem. The delicious stuff.
Discipline.
Where you want to go. But
if you wanted to, you could get pure chicken, a salad, and walk out of that bad boy.
Yeah.
But why when they're giving you pasta and they're giving you pizza and burgers, it's pure discipline at the food hall, boy. First
trick you got to do is figure out how much protein you want per meal. Right. So a college kid's going to want 30 to 50 grams of protein per meal, depending on how many times he's eating throughout the day. That's about a half pound of meat for 50 grams of protein. So, you go stock up on meat first. And then, you can fill in with the other stuff that tastes good. Even if you're in college and you got a fast metabolism and you want to build muscle, you can have some chicken and then have some pizza. It's really not a problem. Right. because you're not perfect. You're going for calories and you're going for protein at that point in time. But the trick is you got to eat your protein first, because protein doesn't taste as good. Like, everybody likes to eat pizza. Everybody likes the carbs. Everybody likes all that stuff. Protein by itself, if it's chicken or something like that, it's not perfect. But if I were in college right now and I had to figure out how to eat, I mean, I'd be fine with cheeseburgers. I'd double stack them, triple stack them, something like that. I'd throw 3 patties on a burger or something. I'd eat a burger. That'd be the carbs. That'd be the fats. That would be the protein all together. And that would be the meal. And then another day I'd get chicken breast or something like that, and have chicken breast or eggs. If they have boiled eggs, I'd have boiled eggs, those kind of hard boiled eggs, all that kind of stuff. The carbs are less important. So, the carbs are less important because you can choose the healthy carbs that everybody considers healthy carbs, but it's really a healthy carb because of the way it digests and the way it doesn't spike your insulin levels and things like that. But college kids, that's not important. They're going to be drinking beer anyway.
Yeah, I feel like the protein intake's the main thing you got to worry about at that point. Because you're going to get enough fat and carbs, I would imagine, from the rest of your diet.
Yeah, you get fat and carbs. I would do these little Totinos. We've talked about this before. Totinos pizzas, the really shitty ones.
Poverty
like
pizzas.
$1. Yeah, poverty pizza.
I would do those. Not calling Totinos shitty.
I'd have a protein shake before I ate a Totinos, or I would have tuna. I'd eat tuna before because I didn't want to cook or something. Or I'd make chicken. I'd throw chicken in a pan. I'd just cube it, throw it in a pan, throw some seasoning on it. And then I would have a Totinos. And so it's like you get the best of both worlds. You get the protein and you get all the carbs and the fats. It's not perfect, but we're talking about a kid that wants to gain muscle in college, not a 45-year-old housewife or something.
All right. I think the source of the food sometimes is a little bit overlooked. It's good to get whole food sources, obviously, for protein, especially if you can. But at the end of the day, just hitting that macro or that amount that you have for the day is going to do you a lot better.
Yeah. So, you get into a discussion, right, about there's the macro side of things, which is really just hitting your protein goals. How many grams of protein, how many grams of carbs, how many grams of fat you need per day. And there's a game that people play with if it fits your macros, where they literally just eat based off of macros. So the food sources are, secondary. They're really going after, so you can eat anything. If you want a candy bar, you throw a candy bar in there, as long as you're hitting your macro goals. And it works really well. You could get into great shape eating almost junk, sticking to just macros. And it shows you that the food sources are secondary to the total calories and the total macros that you get. It's not to discount the food sources. There's definitely better food sources. Soybeans aren't as good as whey protein or beef or something like that for your protein intake by any means. But, it shows you that if you're going to hit 300 grams of protein, it's not as important where it comes from as the fact that you hit 300 grams of protein, or that you keep your carbs within a certain range. So but that's really getting into the debate of if it fits your macros versus you got keto diets. You've got carb cycling diets. You've got South Beach. You've got just a million different types of diets that people are eating, lately.
None of them working without caloric deficit.
They're all caloric
none of them
by far.
I remember a health teacher basically said, if you take nothing else from this class, just take away, it's how much you eat, not what you eat.
Yeah, for sure.
And honestly, that really was the only thing I took away from that.
People don't want to be hungry. That's really what it comes down to. People that need to lose weight, they just don't want to be hungry. And a lot of times I think people eat because it satisfies some sort of anxiety that they have or some need to do something. A lot of people, we've all heard of emotional eating. There's a lot of people that emotionally eat. They feel sad or something, or they didn't, they're anxious. And so they eat. And I think that people just have to get comfortable being hungry. And what's the worst that's going to happen,
I think I remember reading an article somewhere where a majority of hunger is anxiety based, right? So it's presenting itself kind of similar to what we talked about the other day with the back pain thing being linked to emotional trauma.
Yeah.
So whether it be anxieties or sexual frustrations or whatnot is expressed, your body expresses it through hunger.
Yeah.
It's something that I read.
Personal experience with it? Sexual frustration?
No. Luckily, I don't have too much experience with that lately. But as a young man, sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence coming out that some sort of emotional trauma, and trauma can, obviously has different ranges. There are people that have like severe emotional traumas that cause PTSD and things like that. But you have these micro traumas that everybody has throughout their lives, which, like you hold your hand up in class and you say something stupid and everybody laughs. Like that from then on locks some sort of weird feeling inside your body, and you stop being as outgoing as you would have been once before. But that kind of thing is tied to all sorts of things. People that repress those feelings, that don't know they have those feelings. It's been shown that it comes in back pain, and it comes in all sorts of other ailments that they have. So it's not every ailment or every illness or every problem that you have is some sort of emotional trauma, but they can link that way. And so anxiety is one of those ways that it shows out. And then instead of dealing with that problem, we cover it up. We eat or we we do something else. I think that's where a lot of the drug addictions and things like that are actually ultimately coming from, is the need to cover up some sort of feeling that we're not comfortable feeling.
So do you see a lot of people use exercising and nutrition and fitness and whatnot as a way to get over a lot of those crutches?
Yeah, I think most people are getting into fitness for some reason. They don't feel good about themselves, right? Like if you felt good enough about yourself, would you really care how you looked? No. Whenever I got into it, there was definitely some sort of insecurity. I mean, I was doing this stuff in like middle school. And so obviously I was severely insecure about how I looked or, who I was or whatever it was. And so the way to cover that up was for me to look a certain way. And so that went on until I was, nearly 30 years old. So from, like 12 years old to 30, I was really like obsessed with fitness and, got to the extreme points. And I wrote an email yesterday that actually said that the better somebody looks, the more phenomenal they look, the crazier they are. And I stand by that statement and from personal experience. And I trained a bunch of these people, and I know, they had fluctuations in the scale, or they had fluctuations in the way they looked, and people would freak out, because it wasn't going according to plan, because your body's it's not linear. There's a lot of ups and downs and things like that. It's not perfect by any means, but the better you look, the more you focus on how you look, the crazier you get, because once you start getting better and better looking, or, fitter and fitter, you start to notice even more flaws. If you're shredded, but you got a little bit of a love handle, well, then that's like drives you freaking insane, instead of just being like, oh, I look pretty damn good, And I think that's definitely part of it. So people are using fitness to cover up anxieties and insecurities and things like that. And that's definitely drives a lot of the fitness industry and, the hardcore mentality of fitness these days. And I was, speaking from experience.
So being someone who's been on that side and kind of more on the other side now, where do you think the balance is?
It's tough. It's tough to find the balance, because you actually have to like be okay with the way that you look. That's the balance right there, right? So you got to change goals. You got to, what's important in your life. What are the reasons that you're working out? What are you actually looking for from your workouts? And if it's just a look, there's nothing wrong with that by any means. I'm not going to say you shouldn't do that. But if you evaluate and it's just a look, then, you have to figure out, like, are you happy with the way you look? How much working out does it take? Will you be satisfied? It's like I say with money and power are always the things that people talk about: sex, money, and power. Is there ever enough? Is there ever enough sex, money, or power to satisfy somebody? And obviously there's not. You've got the richest people in the world, hundreds of billions of dollars with Bill Gates and Elon Musk and people like that. They just find another way to make more money. The people that are in power find ways to find more power. People that are in fitness find ways to get more obsessed with fitness and the way they look. And so I think that there's not enough there. So that's something you have to figure out on your own for the most part. But then changing your goal is really, I think, what helped with me a little bit. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to be able to run around. I wanted to be able to do all these things that with bodybuilding, I didn't care. It was actually like, if I die big, at least I got a bigger casket, kind of mentality, where now it's more, I want to feel good. I want to be able to run around and be able to it's so true. It's such a bodybuilding mentality. And, but I want to be able to run around. And really a lot of it was, I just kept injuring myself. I would have this injury happen, and, it would be that, there's one time I was on a field trip with my kid, and I jumped up and I tried to grab onto a rock wall kind of thing. And I felt something, pop in my lat just a little bit. I'm like, there's something wrong. I'm not in shape if I can't do the basic stuff. Yeah. And so that was basic. And so from then that just helps you change your viewpoint a little bit. So I think it's really reassessing your goals, really reassessing what's important to you more than, just the way that you look, because fitness is beyond the way you look. You got health markers, you got flexibility, you got endurance, you got energy, you got all these different things that are a part of fitness. And, it's not just lifting weights all the time, which is kind of the way that I've always looked at it. Fitness was lifting weights, but it can be your bike rides. It can be runs. It can be swimming. It can be, playing around with your kids in the yard. It can be, going to the park. It can be all these other things for fitness, jiu-jitsu. These things are all different forms of
I think
fitness.
There's a pretty big difference sometimes too between looking good and feeling good. And some people I think are a little torn on which one they really want.
Yeah. I agree.
I was just about to play devil's advocate there, because I'm the opposite of so I'm not insecure at all. I only work out when I feel like I need like mental health. Like I'm feeling bummed out. Like, okay, let's get our ass up and let's go do something, And so as long as my mental's good, then I'm good. I couldn't care. I don't care less what anybody thought about how I look, as long as I'm happy. So that's when I do it. And anybody who says that fitness doesn't help with mental health is like, besides ignoring science, some of the stupidest stuff you'll see on YouTube and TikTok.
Oh yeah,
saying that, but
there's direct
it definitely 1 billion% helps, and 30 minutes a day will simply change the entire scope of your mental. So for those that don't give a damn and are just literally trying to find that balance, they'll say like, "Oh, I can't find the energy to work out." Oh, you can, brother. And the second that you finally do, that first day after that, you'll be like, "All right, cool."
Yeah, it all comes together.
Myself doing this.
Fitness is the working out, the diet. The diet helps a lot with the energy levels too. You don't realize how much your stomach problems and things like that actually start to impede, the way you feel and stuff. So changing the things that you eat, which you probably have good experience with, Richie, just changing the things that you eat can make a huge difference in your energy levels and how you feel and whether you want to work out or not, that kind of thing.
Oh, God. That would be, so to go back to that source, right? That's where the source of the food probably comes in and helps a little bit when it comes to like the long term of what you're choosing. Yep. And that kind of stuff. That actually is important, and not in everything for my diet. Obviously, I just have to watch out for certain things with lactase and different creams and whatnot. What's fatty, how fatty it is, and whether or not I can have it.
Yeah.
But it is, yeah, dude. You do want to watch out for what exactly you're getting. Nowadays, I don't think we don't have a very good a selection of the source. I think our sources are pretty much all the way infected. I mean, we feed like 90% of, I think most corn grows in the US, right? And we dominate like 95% of the market share. So I'm pretty sure at this point, everything we produce is pretty mass produced and steroided up.
Yeah, I imagine there's some problems with all of it, but it, you don't need to eat corn. Just do without it. Corn's not good for you.
That kid on TikTok told us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He said it was delicious and it was juicy.
You can find corn from a farm, but you are going to have to look for it. And actually, you bring up a really good point. You're not wrong. I'm just saying you got to look hard to find stuff without, pesticides sprayed on it. Like to go really organic these days, you either have to pay for it or find it.
It's what we call them rich people problems.
Yeah. These are
rich person problems because you're like, I don't know if I trust where is this beef grass fed or grain fed? Well, that's a rich person question there.
So, okay, but another tie back. So in 2023, how hard is it to do that? It's so hard to do that now. First off, I would never walk into a Whole Foods with the amount of money I have to spend on groceries a week. It ain't getting spent at Whole Foods, let alone worrying about non-RBST milk and that kind of extra stuff.
I think even if you do want to care to kind of put both your points together, it's hard to. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're trying to build a savings account, you got kids and a mortgage, car payment, and everything else. Buying organic doesn't seem quite as important at the end of the day, I would imagine sometimes.
Yeah, there's definitely places you can cut corners, grass-fed beef is definitely the best way to go, but beef is good for you, even if it's grain fed.
Absolutely.
That's what's for dinner.
Oh yeah. You can buy the $7, $8, chicken eggs at the grocery store for the better yolks, but regular chicken eggs are still good for you. That kind of thing. So that's
in your wallet.
You start splitting hairs at that point in time because there's a lot of people that are, really worried about that kind of stuff and they're eating out. It's like they're eating at McDonald's and things still every once in a while. And it's like, you're really you're missing the point here. You could just eat regular whole food and stop grabbing the stuff out there.
Going back to a point you kind of talked about earlier, you kind of mentioned that changing the way you eat could give you the energy or motivation to work, the energy needed to motivate yourself to work out.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of question. So if you have somebody who's on the couch eating horribly, feeling bad about themselves, do you recommend them to change their exercise habits first or the eating habits first? Because obviously, ideally, they would do both at the same time.
Yeah.
But, we're human. If we want to aim towards change longevity-wise, I think making small steps would probably be your best bet. But is there like a preference on what you do first?
Yeah. I'm a realist in these kind of things. So, it's always what's the easiest thing to start with. The easiest thing, in my opinion, to start with is a little bit of exercise. I think most people can get up and do a little bit, even if it's small, and that will make them feel better and would motivate them to potentially eat better as well. So I think exercise is easier. And just from working with people and talking to people throughout the years, they have a lot more trouble changing their diet and sticking to their diet than they do going to the gym. I think most people can go to the gym and they like going to the gym that are obviously that are into fitness a little bit, but they will eat still terribly.
I think it's a question of habits, really. And changing your habit physically to work out is just probably going to happen quicker a lot of times. And you're going to get that endorphin rush. You're going to get that feeling of satisfaction. When you change your diet choices, you don't really get any of that. You just feel like you're eating less or not of what you want.
That's true.
So I think, I don't know, for me personally, at least, I feel like getting physical would be much easier and probably quicker to see results in some ways too. To change some of the exercise habits compared to the eating ones. But like you said, ideally both would happen at the same time, but that's just not how it goes usually.
If I were going to do it, if I were going to tell somebody, I would say, whatever they got to do, if it's just walking, start with walking, and then I would move into small changes in their diet. And it wouldn't be what they're eating. I would say just to cut back a little bit of how much, that'd be the two things I think they could do simultaneously without really trying very hard. Of course, we're talking somebody probably very unmotivated, quite overweight in this situation for that to be all that they're willing to do and their energy levels to be so bad. But I would say just walking and, reducing just a little bit of how much they eat. If they eat, instead of 100% of every meal, they cut it to 80% of every meal, and they leave a little bit on their plate. That's it. That's the easiest way to get started. Obviously there's levels, right? That's the very introductory level. And then you can step into the next one, which would be maybe lifting some weights, you can go to the gym, use the machines. That would be my next step beyond that. Then after that, I'd probably say increase a little bit of protein, take protein powder, those kind of things help with recovery. And then you can keep stepping up from there. So it's all gradual. The biggest mistake is to change everything all at once. Most people can't handle that.
It is what I do. It is my preferred method, but I know not to tell people that because some people are, everybody's different, right? Like when you quit nicotine, I just said, hey, I'm quitting and I'm done. And I was done. So I realize that people can't do that and it's different worlds, different strokes, different folks, but physical for sure is the easiest one to get up. No one has an excuse to be able to get, you can get up and walk around your room for 15 minutes is a good start.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that'll go all in. They'll start a new workout program. They'll start a new diet program. They change their entire life overnight. On Monday, I'm going to change and I'm going to do all this stuff. And I think they're able to do it for a while, especially if there's a deadline, especially if there's motivation. That's why people love to do bodybuilding shows. Bodybuilding shows have a date that you have to make it to the finish line. And if there's that pressure on you, these people are way less likely to cheat. It's an amazing thing that happens though, right after the bodybuilding show is done. These guys cannot stick to their diet to save their life. And so it's a rare person that can do what they call a reverse diet, where they eat the same things that they had going into the bodybuilding show, but they start stepping themselves out of it. Because once the goal has been achieved, it is so much harder to stick to something for a long term. So people are very goal oriented. So you can definitely do challenges. You can do these sprints where you can stick to it for a while. But then when that motivation, that vacation you're going to go on or something like that's not there anymore, you lose that motivation. That's where the difference between creating a lifestyle that's habitual and just doing something because you're trying to reach a goal, which are two very different things. And that's why it's so hard for people to stay on a workout program, on a diet plan for a long period of time. And so to go back to what Richie said about, cutting out nicotine or something and going cold turkey, I think there's a lot of situations where that does work, especially with something like nicotine, because the longer you go, if you can keep building that habit of not taking it,
easier it gets.
Easier it gets. But with fitness, it doesn't necessarily do that for the most part. If you change your entire life, there's always a hiccup. Birthday party comes up, what are you going to eat? You didn't have your food with you and you screwed something up. You're going out of town. What are you going to eat? Something happened and there's an emergency and now you got to change your whole schedule. Now you got to miss your workout. What are you going to do? All of these things, these roadblocks kind of get thrown in your way and eventually you're going to fail. And so usually people will take that failure, Thursday, something happens, couldn't eat their diet because they were, they forgot their meals or something. So they're like, all right, I'm going to have this one thing. And then that one thing turns into, I'm going to have these two things. And then by the time you realize it, they're like, well, my diet's ruined. I better just take the day off. And then Friday comes and they go,
that all or nothing mentality.
Yeah, it's the all or nothing. But Friday comes around and they're, well, I already ruined Thursday. So I might as well just take the weekend and enjoy myself. And so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday comes back around. And so it's the greatest cycle that people do. They diet Monday through Thursday and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they stop dieting. And maybe that's helpful for them to maintain weight, not gain it, at best. but most people will be very unsuccessful that way.
I've always been told that story, but with the runner, and they would say like, you don't bet on the runner who's just trying to win the race. You bet on the runner who loves running because he's going to continue to run after that race. So you'll get your money back. You bet on the runner who's just going to win that race. He wins that race. He's good. He did what he needed to do. He won his race. But the guy who loves the game, like actually loves what he's doing, is just going to continue to do it. And just,
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. Let lifestyle switch. You can't just lifestyle switch and then it's just going to turn off after a while. I definitely feel you.
Yeah. So you got to, every person's different. Some people won't do very well slowly stepping into a workout program and a diet. They need like a plan to go after, and they need the motivation of like sticking to it for long term. Maybe they need a challenge. Maybe they need a bodybuilding show to really see the results, because if you don't stick to it enough, you're not going to see the results. And so it's kind of like, why are you doing it?
Some people need a thing to chase, but the all or nothing mentality can also set yourself up to feel like a failure too. Yeah. And that's an unfortunate side effect of that.
Well, it's really, part of the fitness industry right now is this very hardcore mentality of, work harder, don't sleep, get all this, get this stuff done. No days off.
Yeah.
And it's that's part of it. Don't cheat on your diet, don't do this. And it's great in one way, but people like to refer him to like, there's Muhammad Ali, right? I hated every minute of training, but I knew it would make me a champion, that kind of thing. And it's like, that's true for an elite athlete, right. For somebody that has a very serious goal. Michael Jordan, definitely. You hate training, man. This is your career. Like, if you want to be elite, you have to do those things. I don't know about you guys. I'm just, trying to feel good and look good. And I don't need to be an elite bodybuilder or anything like I wanted to be once upon a time. But people take that lifestyle, that mentality of bodybuilding, that mentality of this elite athlete, and they bring it into regular life. And it's really just, I have enough stuff going on with business and family and things like that. I don't need more stress and more things to keep track of at this point in time. I need to find a way to make it less stressful. Enjoy my workouts because I like working out. Enjoy what I eat, but it helps me stay in shape. That kind of thing.
I would like to hope that we continue to find ways to get that balance that we're talking about, that people are trying to find. I think that we'll hand that to more people than most of these brands will. And I do love that about us. Because that drives me nuts. I understand it. It'll sell. If you sell the pipe dream of the steroid package and the big buff man, people will buy for a while. But if you really want to help somebody actually have a good balance of mental and physical health and a good home life, it starts with simple fitness and there's a little bit of diet. And I think that we'll promote that a lot better than a lot of these cats have over the years. That's really my biggest gripe in our industry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you want to help someone for a little while, you lie to them. If you want to help someone for all the time, you tell them the truth.
Yeah, right. Yeah, tales all this time, right? Teach a man to fish. And I genuinely think that's not to harp on our own brand for a second, but I genuinely think that's what we're trying to do. And it drives me nuts that we're not doing that to people. We're like selling workout programs and craziness with packaged up people shined up instead of just trying to legitimately help everybody that's coming through. It's a supplement brand, meaning to supplement your working out and your diet, not to just take and become the next Arnold. You're not just going to take a pre-workout. That always drives me nuts. I don't like the false prophets and false hope selling.
That's marketing, right? It's what
you got. I don't like good marketing.
Yeah, that's what they do. They've always done that. It's always been promises they can't deliver on. But
merchants of lies.
That's why people buy them.
We know sex sells, but we just refrained from putting our naked bodies on our bottles. We didn't want to grow that way. We want to grow the regular way.
For now,
if the people want to see it, I'm not against it.
For now,
Bill's bet. I guess we're gonna. Which one of you guys is gonna be on the bottles with your shirt off? I guess is really the question.
That's a great question.
I don't know, but I got to tell you, boy, any excuse to go to a game with you guys is going to be great. Yeah. I'm a rowdy son of a gun, and I got a poncho and a sombrero with the Bills and my name written on it, and I'm here to tell you I will wear it.
It's so exciting.
I really think I've been to games with opposing fans, and as a Chiefs fan, it really has been. You're going to have your drunk idiots, but everyone was cool the whole time I was with Bills fans.
Oh yeah, I think I've told this story to you guys before, but I have gone to multiple KC games with my Bills gear on, and I can tell you right now, as rude as they come off, there ain't a punch thrown, there ain't a person not. They're just busting bees, man. They don't give a damn. They're in Kansas City winning Super Bowls. You're just here for a day. Exactly. They don't give a damn. This ain't the rest of your AFC West that you have to. This ain't the Raiders,
Exactly.
I ain't getting shot in the parking lot of preseason week 2.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the old Raiders. Some of the new Raiders.
It's Vegas. Vegas is a lot cleaner than Oakland. In fair, apparently, that's what we've learned. Vegas, you're less likely to die in Vegas or get shanked in Vegas than you are Oakland. Whew. Times have changed.
Awesome. Well, I think that covers our topics for the first podcast. If the listeners have any, questions that they want to answer,
hit me with them.
Send them in to us.
Baby.
Jared has an email chain you can sign up for.
That's right. I send these things every day.
Every day.
Well, 5 days a week.
If you don't,
I take my weekends off.
If you don't follow us already on our social medias, it's at NutriAuthority. And thank you guys for coming to our first podcast.
That's right.
Many
Thanks
more to
for
come.
Cranking one out with the Nut Club, dude.
Whoa, it's a great way to end it there.
A good workout. Cranking a good workout with the Nut Club.
Come crank it out with the Nut Club, guys.
Good line.